Today, we're going to talk about something you might not have heard of, but it could completely change how you approach, well, just about everything. It's a really simple Japanese philosophy for making changes that actually stick. It's called Kaizen. And yeah, it might just be the secret you've been looking for.
But before we dive in, let's just ask a question we've all wrestled with, right? Why do our biggest goals, those huge New Year's resolutions we get so excited about, why do they almost always seem to fall apart? They just fizzle out after a few weeks. What's going on there?
Well, a big part of the problem is something we can call the all-or-nothing trap. And I bet this sounds familiar. It's that whole cycle of setting these massive, life-changing goals, only to end up with even more massive disappointment.
I mean, think about it. It's the first of the month, or a Monday, and you decide you're going to do a total life overhaul. You're going to hit the gym for 2 hours a day, read a book every single week, completely revamp your diet, all at once. For a couple of days, you feel incredible, like a superhero. But then, life gets in the way. You miss one workout, you get swamped at work, and bam, the whole plan just feels impossible. You're overwhelmed and you quit. It's this classic boom and bust cycle that honestly just leaves us feeling worse than when we started.
So what's the science behind this? Well, there's a name for it: mental friction. You can think of it like your brain's emergency brake. When you try to make a giant leap from what you're used to, your brain kind of freaks out. It sees it as a shock to the system and pulls the brake, creating this powerful psychological resistance, this feeling of being totally overwhelmed. And that's what brings all that amazing progress to a screeching halt.
Okay, so if the all-or-nothing approach is a trap, what's the way out? Well, that brings us to what I like to call the 1% solution. It's a much simpler and frankly smarter way to change.
And this whole idea is built on that Japanese philosophy I mentioned, Kaizen. The word itself basically means change for the better or continuous improvement. See, it's not about some huge, dramatic overnight revolution. It's a philosophy built on making tiny, constant, incremental improvements, day after day.
And here's the absolute key. The goal with Kaizen isn't a total overhaul. Nope. The goal is simply to get 1% better every single day. That's it. It's a target that is so small, so unintimidating, that it almost feels, well, too easy. But that's the magic. That's exactly why it works.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can such ridiculously small steps lead to big results? It sounds a little crazy. I get it. But let's look at the surprising psychology behind why these tiny habits are actually a secret weapon.
Remember that mental friction we were just talking about? That emergency brake? Well, tiny habits are designed to be so small, they just sneak right past the brain's alarm system. An action like do one push-up or read just one page is so non-threatening that your brain doesn't put up a fight. In fact, it does the opposite. It sees it as an easy win, which gives you this little hit of satisfaction, this little reward that makes you want to do it again tomorrow.
Let's just put it side by side, okay? Big goals, they trigger that mental friction. They require a ton of willpower, which, let's be honest, we don't have an endless supply of, and they almost always lead to burnout. Tiny habits, on the other hand, they completely bypass that friction. They require almost zero willpower, and most importantly, they build momentum. Each little success makes the next one just a tiny bit easier. All right, so we get the why. Enough theory, let's get to the how. We're going to get super practical and talk about how you can create your very first micro goal and put Kaizen into practice, like today. It's really just a simple 3-step process. First, just pick one area. Seriously, just one. Don't try to fix your whole life at once. Maybe it's fitness or reading or maybe just tidying up. Second, define your micro goal. And the rule here is to make it so ridiculously easy, so laughably small that it's impossible to say no. And third, and this part is so important, focus on building self-trust. Every single time you complete that tiny goal, you're basically casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. You're proving to yourself that you're someone who actually follows through.
And when we say small, we mean really small. Like, if you want to read more, don't commit to a whole chapter. Just commit to one single page. You want to get in shape? Forget the hour-long workout. Just do one push-up. Want to meditate? 1 minute. Tidy your house? Just tidy one surface, like the coffee table. You see the pattern here? The goal isn't the immediate result. It's just building the habit of showing up. And that's where the real magic happens, because this isn't just about doing one push-up forever. It's about something much bigger, the incredible, mind-blowing power of compounding. That 1% improvement every day doesn't just add up, it grows exponentially. Over a year,
Getting just 1% better each day means you'll be over 37 times better by the end. Think about that. Small, consistent efforts create these massive, long-term results.
You know the old saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, you can think of Kaizen as the ultimate guide to taking that step, and then the next one, and the next. So the real question isn't, can you change everything tomorrow? The real question is, what's your 1% going to be today?